Welcome to Trenches Trading. Let's look at some news, this week's top picks, and where the markets are currently located. All right, so today's Monday. There's no major news coming out. Tomorrow, we got some orange folders, but nothing too major. Wednesday, this is when things get interesting. So we got the federal funds rate at 2 p.m. Powell should be coming out and possibly cutting rates. Here's the forecast for that. He's supposed to be cutting by a quarter point on Wednesday. And then Thursday, nothing. And Friday, nothing. So that's the news. As for where the markets are, SPX is getting a little bit extended here, brushing up towards 3 ATR. And this second take profit point on the Fibonacci retracement. So we got a confluence here, which could lead to a sharp retracement, maybe something like this, where the market then pulled back, let's see, about 20% or so. This is a monthly chart, so this was a 3-month pullback. So it's very possible that we hit up here and retrace a little bit. Let's check out the Qs. So the Qs, same thing, right? Right up here near 3 ATR. And this second Fibonacci retracement level on the monthly chart. IWM is just now starting to break out, so it's going to be a little bit before it gets even to its first Fib retracement target, and the 3 ATR is up here, so it's got some time before it retraces according to what the chart's showing. And then the Dow Jones is about to hit its first Fibonacci retracement target, so it could definitely hit this and pull back a little bit. And then the 3 ATR is up here, so it's got some room to run still. All right, for this week's picks, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 charts. Let's check them out. So AVGO here on the monthly is right against the 3 ATR. So it's got no real room, but on the weekly here, it's got some space, right? About $20 to run, and we got earnings coming up December 11th. On the daily, we got a nice setup here. Price was just at the 21 EMA and the point of control on Thursday. All right, we finally got to move off this area. If you're already in this, then, you just got to basically sit back and let the charts do their thing. If you're not in this, then you would want to wait for a pullback before getting in. Price is currently up in pre-market about $8, right? It's currently at 362, breaking up above this major resistance fib level and this major resistance volume profile. So AVGO is looking like it's ready to, start riding up towards this 380 area. All right, ETR. So ETR on the monthly is also extended up here at 3 ATR. The weekly's got about $4. It's not too much space. And then the daily has a little bit more room in terms of what it looks like here, right? But it's only $4, $3.96 and 100. They also have earnings this Wednesday in the morning. So this could make for an interesting trade, maybe between today and Wednesday, especially if price drops a little bit as the market opens up, right? This wouldn't be a bad setup here, this 130-minute chart. Just catching this right off 96 and seeing if it can't push up towards 98 or so into earnings. I would not hold the contract past Tuesday afternoon. So because they report earnings Wednesday morning, I would want to exit the position Tuesday by 3:59 p.m. Let's see some contracts for ETR. So they only got these monthly series, so you're going to want to get these November 21 expiration and probably just go in the money. The bid-ask spread is 60 cents, so there is that. But these 95 calls, 61 delta, they'll probably be pretty good for taking advantage of this little move up. All right, FTAR, let's see. FTAI has a ton of space on the monthly, which is great. It's got some space on the weekly, about $10. And on the daily, I mean, it's up pre-market, about $4. And they report earnings today in the afternoon. So this would definitely make a good day trade. Ideally, you'd want to get in right at the open and sell before the end of the day. And you probably have to trade like a 1 minute chart or something to find this like setup. All right, so those of you that are new to the channel by a setup, I'm talking about this bull flag shape here. All right, along with the squeezes here at the bottom. That's what would qualify as a setup. And let's see, because they report earnings today in the afternoon, you can just buy these this week's calls, 1031. These spreads are really bad, so I wouldn't buy just straight up long calls. I'd probably like work a spread. Maybe like these 182 by 185. Let me see. This thing's acting wonky. So it says 155. Could also make this wider. 5 wide, 265. It's not horrible. Not ideal, but not horrible. I probably wouldn't trade it just because those spreads are pretty ugly. LCRX. So this thing's pretty extended on the monthly and pushing up even higher pre-market. Maybe it's going to run up to 5 ATR, I'm not sure. But the weekly, it's also pretty extended. And on the daily, I mean pre-market, it's up here. They reported earnings last Wednesday. They beat earnings. So I would expect this name to continue running into the end of the year. First target up here is going to be this first fib level along with the confluence of 3 ATRs, so about 158, 159. You got the psychological number 160, so I'd probably just aim for that. Let's see, LCRX or LRCX. It has a daily squeeze setting up here, so that's pretty good. But price is pretty extended, so you want to wait for a pullback at least to this 145 level, I would say, unless you want to wait for a new setup to appear, like maybe on a 1 hour chart. But even for that, you'd have to wait for price to get back down here towards like 148. In terms of contracts, if this daily squeeze can set up and price could have a little pullback, it's probably best to go out towards November 21st. And, right here, either at the money or slightly in the money. These spreads are pretty good. Only about 35 cent spread for these 155 calls. 40-cent spread for these 157.50s. Not bad at all. I like the chart. I like that they beat earnings. Um, this thing's pretty extended again, but I would imagine it's going to push up towards that 5 ATR, 180 area. All right, LVS, Las Vegas Sand Corporation. So this monthly chart is pretty non-directional, right? It's pretty flat. But they had a great week last week, pushing up 18%. Probably on this earnings beat, all right, for Wednesday. The daily chart absolutely went, this thing shot up over 10%, 12% that day, another 1% on the following day. I would assume there's like small setups happening. Yeah, so we got this 15-minute chart set up and 30-minute chart starting to set up. I'll probably just take this 15-minute chart on a pullback either to this 57.30 area or to this area where the volume is stacked up about 56, 57. So ideally, you'd want to catch a drop down to this area, right? And see if this thing can push up over $60, stopping out under this zone. LVS. It's a 15-minute chart, so options expiring this week are fine. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could go out to next week. These options are pretty cheap, right? If you went right at the money, 82, 86 cents. And these are, $1.30, $1.40. So pretty cheap options. I like the setup. And let's see what the fib shows on this daily chart. Yeah, so first target would be 61. Next target will be 65. We got a lot of volume coming in this past week off the earnings report. And I would just be aware of the fact that price is currently sitting just underneath 3 ATR. All right, Morgan Stanley. So the monthlies, not too, it's got some space between where the price is currently and the 3 ATR. Same thing with the weekly. And same thing with the daily. They beat earnings, 2 weeks ago? By 33%. That's pretty good. And the price shot up, pulled back a little bit, right, and popped up again on this news report. Oh no, this is this morning. Look at that. So it's interesting, right? Disclosing its role as an exempt principal trader in Qualcomm's takeover offer. So that's interesting. Next targets would be 169, 172, 176. You could get in up here and just use this like 163 area as a stop. Ideally, I would wait for price to pull back, maybe to 160, where the point of control is here. I feel like that gives a better risk to reward ratio, and then, run it up. So, an entry in this area, stopping out underneath the zone, and riding this thing up towards 170. In terms of contracts, these November 21st, 165 calls, really good, really tight spread. It's a $163 stock, 20-cent spread. So this is it's a good contract, in my opinion. This thing's been squeezing for a while, so it's probably getting ready to make its move here. And the momentum shifted last week to really positive, right? So got the first light blue momentum bar. Morgan Stanley looks really good. Microsoft here. I already had a setup from last week. Let's see, they report earnings this Wednesday, and this is the most obvious, right? Stop loss would be underneath this little pattern here. This is the resistance area, so got resistance here once, twice, three times, four times, five times. So we got resistance in a lot of areas, and price is currently up here pre-market. So price closed at 523 on Friday, and it's currently up here at 530. So a great overnight move if you're already involved. I would definitely tighten up my stop. And if you're not involved, then I would just wait either for price to break through this resistance and then find support on top of it, break and retest, or wait for price to get rejected here and then pull back to an area worth taking a shot. I would say probably around this zone, since price was supported here previously, rejected here, rejected, supported, rejected, supported. So this would probably be a bit of an ideal entry right here. Entry at 519 if it gets rejected. If it doesn't get rejected, then I would look for support on top of this 530 area. They report earnings again Wednesday, so this would be like a super short trade just for this week. So you can get this week's calls. Since they report earnings, you could go a little bit out of the money because the premium is usually kept in these contracts. I would even go out to these 540s. If you really wanted to go out a little bit, you could go out a little bit further to these 550s. I wouldn't go out past further than that. But ideally, I would get these 540s. And that's Microsoft. And then we got Palantir. Let's see. So on the monthly, this thing has just been tearing it up here at 3 ATR. On the weekly, it's got some space. And on the daily, it's been in this consolidation for quite some time. Today's the first day it's breaking up above the area. But price was rejected here before, right? A few times. So I'll be wary again. Same thing with Microsoft. If price gets above this area, I would wait for it to find support. If it gets rejected, then I would want to get in on a pullback towards this area like 180, 181, 182, where price was support here, rejected, 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 support, rejected, right? Rejected, rejected, support. So a rejection here, entry here, or breakthrough, pullback, find support at this level. They report next Monday, so this could give a great trade for the week. All right, so PLTR, I would go for next week's calls. And you can see over here the implied volatility is 90%, right? Higher than this week's 63 or higher than the following week's 73, 79. So that's why the premium is kept in these contracts. Because of that implied volatility, I'm happy to go out of the money. These 200 calls are great. All right. And last but not least, RTX. So this thing's fully extended on the weekly, the monthly, extended on the weekly, and now on the daily, also fully extended. They beat earnings last week, which is good. I would look for like an intraday trade type of thing if I could find a decent setup like this 15-minute chart. All right. If this thing keeps curving and these moving averages swap over, then I probably would not get involved, at least on that short of a time period. This 30-minute chart doesn't look bad. Ideally, price dips a little bit in between this 178, 177 zone, and then you can get involved. This might have to consolidate for some time up here, though, since it's so extended. But if you get that consolidation and price looks like it wants to stay up here, then I would definitely get involved on those smaller time frames and look for 186 to take profits. Let's look at these contracts real quick. So pretty tight. Spread's not horrible, right? 25 cents, 30 cents. November 18th, again, 28 cents. November 14th. I was looking at this 18 days. So these are not bad. For RTX, I would definitely wait for a pullback and a setup. But that's what I got. Excuse the noise from before. If you guys could even hear that, I'm not too sure. But yeah, man, I hope this helps. I would just point out that the VIX is at 1564, which is lower than it's been these past few weeks. And the market is currently elevated. So the Dow's up 200 points, NASDAQ up 300, SPX 54, and the Russell 23. Bitcoin's up $4,000, almost 5. So interesting stuff. All right, guys, have a good one.